Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams here on Boxing Along the Beltway. Our news and notes for this week, and it has been a very busy week throughout the Beltway. This week with the media workout we went to on Wednesday night at the Upton Boxing Center in Baltimore, Maryland. Hope you had a chance to listen to the interviews that we did with a number of the boxers there, including Gervonta Tank Davis, who will be a part of the April 1st boxing card at the DC Armory. We talked about that. We talked to Malik Hawkins, one of the up-and-coming prospects in the area. Lorenzo Truck Simpson, one of the best amateurs in the country. Devin Butcher, another solid pro, young pro. And also Kobe Madison making his pro debut. And we talked to Calvin Ford, the head of the boxing center at the Upton Gym in Baltimore. Hope we get a chance to do that. Don't forget, Friday night, March 25th, it's the PVA All-Stars in the Spring Fling in the Ring at Rosecroft Raceway. There are a lot of boxers, not only from this area, but up and down the East Coast will be a part of that. Should be a great event there at Rosecroft Raceway. Tickets start, the first bell is at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, p.m. But what we want to do this week is go over the entire Beltway Boxing spring schedule, because this is unbelievable. Now, for those who have not been following my blog for a while, during the calendar year, April and May seem to be our busiest months on a regular basis. Every now and then we have a strong October, November, we end the year strong, but normally April and May have always been our busiest months. A lot of things going on. We used to call it, but we have called every now and again, the awesome April of Beltway Boxing, or the magnificent May along the Beltway, because usually what happens is that they'll have a number of local cards, maybe a few boxers fighting out of town, but we may have anything from 3 to 4, sometimes 5 cards in either April or May that end up being making a real strong and busy month. But this year, it's incredible because it's more than just the number of local cards. And it's more than just the number of boxers that are fighting out of town. It's their importance. And it's the importance of the cards that are here, the importance of the boxers who are fighting in the area and the type of bouts they're having. There's a lot more going on this year. And it is amazing to me. And before we give you the schedule, every now and then when I get to something like this, I like to break it down to see where we are numbers-wise, okay? Here's what it looks like right now, as of right now. Beltway boxers will be on national television. We know for certain 5 times, and I think we can actually update that to 6 now, because we just got word of a confirmation of another Beltway boxer being on TV. So 6 times, and that number could grow as the month continues. 2 of these Beltway boxers will be involved in world title bouts between April and May. We're talking April 1st to May 14th. That's our time frame. April 1st, May 14th. 3 nationally televised cards on 3 different networks coming from one location. That's the DC Armory during that time period. Again, April 1st to May 14th. There'll be 5 local pro cards during the stretch. Then we've got the Washington Golden Gloves, the Regional Golden Gloves, and the Junior Olympics all coming through that stretch as well. So this is just an amazing month. So we're going to go break this down a little bit. Early next week, we'll give you a post-fight. A Beltway Boxing news and notes during the week of the Adrian Bronner Ashley Theophane card. We'll be doing a special news and notes updating that entire card for that particular week. We'll talk about that a little bit. And so let's go over what we're calling now the superb spring of Beltway Boxing. And it starts indeed on Friday, April 1st, when Adrian Bronner defends his WBA Super Lightweight Championship against Ashley Theophane. That'll be at the DC Armory, as we said, and it'll be on Spike TV. Now, Gervonta Tank Davis, we talked to him Wednesday night in Baltimore, and he is going to be on that card in a televised bout. And that, along with, I believe, it'll be Robert Easter will be on the televised portion of the card. We've got Kareem Martin on the show, Shingiskan Tazabai, Patrick Harris, of course, J. Leon Love is on the show as well. Just a great card. Damon Nicholson's on that card. So it's going to be a great night. And the night begins at 5:30. Doors open at 5. The first bout is at 5:30. And the telecast on Spike TV will begin at 9 p.m. Eastern Time from the D.C. Armory. So that'll be Friday, April 1st. Saturday, April 2nd, we've got the Washington Golden Gloves Finals at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. And for those of you who read my blog on a regular basis, hopefully by this weekend I'll be posting the entire bout sheet for the Washington Golden Gloves. And that'll be the novice and open division. By the way, the regionals, the region for D.C., the D.C. region, what we call it, now includes Delaware. So it's D.C., Baltimore, and Delaware. D.C., Maryland, and Delaware will be all part of that region now. So Delaware joins us for the first time this year. So that's Washington Golden Gloves Finals, Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. Hope you can be there for that. If not, we will have live blow-by-blow coverage right here on the Boxing Along the Beltway Google app for Android and on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio.com, YouTube as well. So please subscribe anywhere you can hear this. Please subscribe and be appreciative of that. Then on Saturday, April 9th, we'll be at the ABC Sports Complex in Springfield, Virginia for the Jetta Promotions card. Jerome Quigley is led the headline this card, along with Devontae Speed Rawls, Kobe Abridi, Francisco Bustos on the card, Mark Johns is on the show, Edgar the Tiger Torres on the show, and the Jetta Promotions debut of York, Pennsylvania boxer Steve Weimer. Of course, again, as we said a couple weeks ago, Weimer is the first managerial signing for Jetta Promotions, and he'll be on that card Saturday, April 9th from the ABC Sports Complex in Springfield, Virginia. We will also have that card for you live on the Box on Beltway Google app for Android. Also on April 9th, we just found out about this Wednesday night. Malik Hawkins will be in Las Vegas on the card, and no word yet on his opponent. Malik Hawkins, we had a nice conversation with him. You'll hear that right here on the blog, and it's an interesting thing to say about his career. So Malik the Iceman Hawkins out of Baltimore will be on a card in Las Vegas on Saturday, April 9th. Also on Saturday, April 9th, the first day of the local Junior Olympic tournament. That'll be at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. So a lot of great amateur situations will be held at Rosecroft in the month of April. The juniors are over for the Golden Gloves. So a lot of the juniors we've seen over the last few weeks will be at the Junior Olympic tournament Saturday, April 9th. Then on Saturday, April the 16th, Gary Russell Jr. will be defending his WBC Featherweight Championship against Patrick Hyland. That'll be at the Foxwoods Casino in Mashantucket, Connecticut, and that bout will be shown on Showtime Championship Boxing. And there was a little bit of I won't say a controversy, but a little bit of a nervous situation when we heard that Russell did not weigh in at the 30-day time spot for the WBC. WBC has weigh-in situations 30 days before the bout and then 7 days before the bout. And apparently, Russell missed his 30-day by 1 day. And so he ended up weighing in. He came in under the limit. He was fine. So everything's a go for that particular bout. It'll be Gary Russell Jr.'s first title defense. And once again, it'll be at the Foxwoods, Mashantucket, Connecticut, and it'll be on Showtime Championship Boxing on Saturday, April the 16th. Also on Saturday, April 16th, DeMarcus Chop Corley, the ageless wonder. I tell you, this guy is just incredible. He just won a bout not too long ago, knocked out a previously undefeated boxer in Denmark. Well, on April 16th, he'll be in Guadalupe, Mexico, Nuevo Leon, Mexico, taking on a guy named Adrian Diamante Estrella. And that'll be, I believe, for the WBC Latino Lightweight Championship. So this guy is probably very good, 25-1, 23 KOs. But again, Corley still gets it done against these so-called top prospects around the world. So we'll see what he does with this situation on Saturday, April 16th. Then also on Saturday, April 16th, the final day of the local Junior Olympic tournament, and that'll be at Rosecroft Raceway as well in Fort Washington, Maryland. So that'll be Saturday, April the 16th. So a big day on that particular Saturday, April 16th. On Tuesday, April the 19th, Emmanuel Aleem, he's out of Richmond, Virginia, the chosen one, will take on a pretty tough opponent in Jonathan Cepeda. And Cepeda will be in they'll be in an 8-round contest. That'll take place at the Sands Bethlehem Event Center in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. That bout will be shown on Fox Sports 1. So, Emmanuel Aleem, really solid prospect, undefeated. Again, there's a pretty good guy in Jonathan Cepeda. That should be a good one for him. 8 rounds at the Sands Bethlehem Event Center in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Once again, that'll be on Fox Sports 1. Then we come to Saturday, April 23rd. And that's, of course, other than Gary Russell Jr. defending his title, this will be the biggest bout of the spring schedule. Dominic Wade challenging Gennady Golovkin for many world titles at the Fabulous Forum in Inglewood, California. That bout will be shown on HBO. Now, again, as we said so many times, this is a no-lose situation for Dominic Wade. If he wins, of course, he's a mega star overnight. If he loses, especially if he looks good in the loss, he loses nothing. Well, I think he loses nothing regardless, whether he looks good or not, because people expect him to get blown out in 2 or 3 rounds. But if he goes a distance, or for example, and loses, he still gets will get a lot of praise. And again, if he wins, sky's the limit. And again, Golovkin is the prohibitive favorite in that situation, but if Wade can stay away and box, and he's got great fundamentals, who knows? He'll make it interesting if nothing else. And if he can get something going early and throw Golovkin off his game plan somehow, who knows? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Saturday, April 23rd in Inglewood, California at the Forum. Dominic Wade against Gennady Golovkin. And again, this is about as great a no-lose situation as you can get. Also on Saturday, April 23rd, Lenwood Dozier, Mr. Composer Dozier out of Glen Burnie, Maryland. He'll be on a card at the Police Athletic League in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, Saturday, April 23rd. Then on Friday, April 29th, the first road trip for Crofton, Maryland heavyweight Luther Lights Out Smith. And this is a guy who's knocked out pretty much everybody he's faced, 4-0, 4 KOs. And he goes on the road now to take on Mark Rideout. I believe he's out of Atlantic City, New Jersey. And this bout will be at the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. It'll be the first 6-rounder for Smith. And Rideout's record is 4-1. I believe he has 3 knockouts. So that could be very interesting. That could be a very interesting bout there for Luther Smith. Again, his first road trip. So that's always a situation because he's not getting the hometown crowd primarily, although knowing Smith's crowd, they'll probably travel with him a little bit. He's a big crowd early on in his young pro career, but he's not getting the home feeling. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. Also in that card, Londo Pugh out of Washington, who trains out of Baltimore. He's from D.C., but he trains out of Baltimore, Maryland. He'll take on a tough guy, Brendan Barrett. He's been here a couple of times on Jetta Promotions cards. Short, compact heavyweight, and he can hit and hit hard. He's out of New Jersey. He's back home. And also Antonio Teflon Magruder, who just restarted his career on the last card in D.C. At Convention Center. He'll be in a 4-round bout as well. So 3 Beltway boxers on that card at the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City on Friday, April 29th. Then on Saturday, April 30th, that's a huge day. Saturday, April 30th is going to be a huge day. First of all, here in D.C., and for the life of me, I can't tell you how this card got here. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. We're getting a doubleheader for the World Super Middleweight Championship. 2 World Super Middleweight title bouts on a card at the D.C. Armory. It's a Mayweather Promotions card. That means Mayweather Promotions comes to D.C. twice in 1 month. And this card will be on Showtime, by the way. The WBC champion, Badu Jack, will defend his title against former champion Lucian Bute. Let me stop there for a second. And I talked to my good friend and he's photographer in the Beltway, Mike Greenhill, who covers Lucian Bute, who has covered Lucian Bute a number of times in his boxing home of Canada. Lucian Bute, I believe he's out of Romania originally, but his boxing base for many years has been Canada. And when I told him about this particular bout, he was shocked where this bout was going to be. He was shocked because Boutte hardly ever fights out of Quebec, Canada. And to get him here, and of course he is the challenger, so I guess he really doesn't have any real say in the matter. But to get a good crowd, you get somebody like Boutte in his home area, and it packs the place. The Bell Center in Montreal, it packs the place. Well, he's not going to have that luxury. And Badou Jack will defend his title against Lucien Boutte at the DC Armory on Saturday, April 30th. Then in the IBF situation, the IBF champion, who's James DeGale, he'll defend his title against Rogelio Porky Medina. Now, DeGale's nickname is Chunky, and Rogelio Medina's nickname is Porky. So they will be going after each other for DeGale's IBF title on that card as well. And that'll be Saturday, April 30th at the DC Armory. No word yet on what, if any, Beltway boxers will be on this card. I gotta think there'll be somebody on there from the Beltway. But then again, we have been so busy. We'll be so busy this month. Who is left? Who's available for that particular situation? That should be very interesting to see what happens there. That'll be on Saturday, April 30th on Showtime. Meanwhile, also that same night, Saturday, April 30th, there'll be a card that'll be shown on the Fox Network as well as Fox Deportes. But the Fox Network will have a card that'll feature Thomas Top Dog Williams Jr. This is a bout that's been pushed off for almost a year now because it was scheduled to be on the card in Atlantic City. No, I'm sorry, not Atlantic City. It was in Connecticut, and it was Thomas Top Dog Williams Jr. taking on Edwin Rodriguez. That's what will be on the undercard, actually the co-feature of Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. But now it'll be at the StubHub Center in Carson, California. And again, you can see the card live on the Fox Network. Not Fox Sports 1 this time, but the Fox Network. And also for our Spanish television audience, it'll be on Fox Deportes as well. And we just heard word that local super middleweight Phil Jackson Benson, the real deal Phil Jackson Benson, will also be on this card. So I don't know if he'll be on television, but he'll definitely be on the card from what I've been told. So that'll be a card. That'll be on that card situation there. So Saturday, April 30th at the StubHub Center, Carson, California, on Fox. Thomas Top Dog Williams Jr. and what should be a very big bout against Edwin Rodriguez. Now, because we will be at the DC Armory on Saturday, April 30th for that Super Middleweight Championship doubleheader because of my fight news duties, I have to be at that particular card. Therefore, we had promised you we were going to have a live broadcast from the Regional Golden Gloves that'll be held on Saturday, April 30th at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. But unfortunately, because of my fight news duties, I will not be able to be at the Golden Gloves. I haven't figured out the cloning thing yet. I wish I had, but I have not figured out the cloning thing. So I can't be in two places at once. And again, my fight news duties in this case, and my pro duties in general, because the boxing law on the Beltway has always been sort of a pro-first situation. So we have a conflict between a pro show and an amateur show. 9 times out of 10, the pro show will win out. And that's what's happening here. So I have to be at the pro show, the doubleheader, the super midweight doubleheader there. So we'll not be at the Regional Golden Gloves finals, but it should be a lot of fun. And again, that's DC, Maryland, and Delaware now versus Virginia and North Carolina coming up. And we'll get the details and get the results for you and post it on the blog. But I will not be able to be there, unfortunately, for that particular night. So that's the way that's going to go. So that's Saturday, April 30th. That ends April. So that's a lot of stuff in April. Now let's move to May. And there are really 3 major events in May. And I'm going to go over them briefly. And then I'm going to come back a little bit because I've had some conversation about 2 of the major events on that card. Friday, May 13th, there'll be another televised pro boxing card. It'll be the DC Army. It'll be a Rock Nation card. It'll be televised by BET. And headlining the show will be Dusty Hernandez Harrison. So that's all we know about that card right now. Dusty Hernandez Harrison on that card. Then on Saturday, May 14th, the Shaw Style Promotions Shabazz Brothers card, that'll be at the Maryland State Fairgrounds in Timonium, Maryland. And so far on that card, 2 really good bouts. Looking forward to these. Travis Reeves takes a big step. He'll take on the Ultimate Warrior Garrett Wilson out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Travis Severe Reeves, who's really been improving over the last few months. Had some real quality wins in latter part of 2015. So he's facing a guy, Garrett Wilson, who actually made his pro debut in this area back in 2009. He fought at the District Heights Municipal Center in District Heights, Maryland. Made his pro debut against a guy named Robert McConnell Jr., and he knocked McConnell out in the second round. So Garrett Wilson's had an outstanding situation. He recently fought Keith Tapia and lost that bout, so he's looking to bounce back, and this will be a very interesting bout there. And also on the card, Tyra Douglas returns, and she'll take on Anahi Torres out of Mexico in an 8-round bout, a women's bout, and that should be a lot of fun as well. This bout they've trying to get together for a while also. Scheduled to be on that card also, Glenn DeZern returns, and some others as well. We'll give you the whole card about that on as soon as we get it. But a lot of fluctuation with that card. But should be a lot of fun. That's Saturday, May 14th at the Maryland State Fairgrounds in Timonium, Maryland. Friday through Sunday, May 13th to the 15th, the Regional Junior Olympic Tournament. That'll be at the Main Street Gym in Salisbury, Maryland. That's Hal Chernoff's place that was recently remodeled, and from what I hear, looks wonderful. And so that's where the Regional Junior Olympics will be held in Salisbury, Maryland at the Main Street Gym in Salisbury. Now, let's talk a little bit about May 13th and May 14th, because I guess I started some discussion about those cards, and there was some bouts that were scheduled for those cards that are not happening. And I wanted to reiterate my point on both situations, because they're similar in some ways and different in others. May 13th, Dusty Hernandez Harrison again is headlining the show at the DC Army, the Rock Nation show. And of course, he's a Rock Nation boxer. And at 29-0, 16 KOs, even though he's just 21 years old, he turns 22 in mid-May. There's been a lot of controversy about where Dusty Harrison is going in his career. And there was a proposed bout for this card that I thought was a very good bout for him, personally. A lot of people have disagreed with me on that, and that's fine. But I thought it was a good bout. It definitely was a great bout for the area. And the disagreement on this actually has been very good, and I understand that point. And let me just say this. Let me backtrack a little bit. Normally, and I've said this before on the blog many times, normally I do not favor what I call Beltway backyard brawls, for lack of a better name. I normally don't, because usually there's not a whole lot to be gained by them. Okay? And I think we look at places like Philadelphia, where they have a lot of those. They're famous for those. Sometimes neither boxer benefits from it. Okay? We've had that situation here. Many years ago, we had a bout of two super middleweights by the name of Alan Boogaloo Watts, and Beethaven Scotland, the late Beethaven Scotland now. And they had actually one was a classic battle that I saw. And these guys were kind of on the rise in DC. This is mid 1990s we're talking here. And they fought two wars. And I believe Watts won both bouts. And I know he won the first bout because he knocked out Scotland the first time I saw it. That was at the old convention center. Then they fought again. I missed the second time, but I think Watts won that bout again. But neither boxer benefited from those bouts. They couldn't move up, either one of them. Many years later, actually, in the late 2000s, of course, we had Henry Mays taking on Willie For Real Williams. And these are two Baltimore super middleweights, ironically, same weight class. And they fought 3 times. The first 2 bouts they had were the draws. And then finally, Mays won the third bout. And again, unless there's something on the line, even if it's a state title or a DC title, they don't make a lot of sense to me. Okay? They don't make a lot of sense. The two bouts that were scheduled for May 13th and May 14th kind of changed my thinking of that, just for these particular situations. Dusty Harrison's original opponent for this card, and again, he doesn't have an opponent now for it, but the original opponent for Dusty was supposed to be Stevensville, Maryland's Tony Jeter. And the bout was signed. Okay, the contracts for this bout had been signed. I have seen Jeter's contract. Okay, he sent me a copy of his contract, not a physical copy, but an email copy of the contract. So I know it was signed on Jeter's end. And for all we have heard, the Harrison camp originally did sign that contract for that bout. It would have been a great bout for DC, for the DC area, the Beltway. The couple people have said to me, how do you get two white guys to headline a show on Black Entertainment Television? And I didn't want to play the race card in that situation, but I guess that's kind of true. I guess that's true. But the Harrison camp backed out of the card, out of the bout. And it did it for a number of reasons, and it took them a while to get those reasons out. But they didn't think the bout was big enough for Dusty to move. Okay? I kind of disagree with that, because I think it kind of puts down where Jeter is right now, even in his career. Now, Jeter is 40 years old. But as I've said before on a couple of occasions, Jeter has moved so well in the latter stages of his career that I think he deserved an opportunity to fight someone like Dusty Harrison. Here's a guy who's won a couple of regional titles. He has put himself in the ranking within 3 major governing bodies. He's fought for interim world titles. He's done a lot in the latter stages of his career. And I think to have Harrison fight him in that situation, I think we would see where Dusty was, or is, I should say, in his situation. There's been a lot of criticism about Dusty, about some of the fights he's had. Now, some of the fights he's had have been late replacements. I understand that, but he hasn't fought a lot of so-called quality, I'd say top 30 opponents in his career. Now, as some people say, the bout was a lose-lose situation. If he had fought Jeter, it would have been a lose-lose situation. That may or may not be true. I can see that, though, because if he does lose to Tony Jeter, he takes a few steps back. There's no question about that. And quite frankly, that fight would not have been a gimme for Dusty. I think Jeter would have had given him a real tough time in that situation. I do agree with that. And if he wins, well, he beat a 40-year-old man. So I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. But I think he needed that fight not only to continue his base here in the area, but really look at what he's doing for the future. And I think when you look at the amateurs who were around the same time as Dusty Harrison, how their careers have gone out, you wonder where the Harrison camp is going. You look at Dominic Wade. We talked about Dominic Wade recently and early in the podcast. And after 18 bouts, and there was a lot of question about Dominic Wade and where his focus was. But after 18 bouts, he's taking some chances and now is fighting the biggest bout in his career. When you look at Jared Hurd, and Jared Hurd was not considered an elite amateur like Dusty was, and definitely like Dominic Wade was. Jared Hurd had fewer bouts than Harrison, but they won huge bouts that put them in position for bigger paydays. Okay, Hurd is nursing an injury right now, so he's out of action. But of course, we talked about what Dominic Wade is doing. And if it's happening because the Harrison camp is afraid of losing, then they're in the wrong business, and they really need to understand that. And if you look at what Antoine Douglas what happened to him recently, he took a chance, he lost. He took a fight that He was scheduled to fight Sam Solomon. Solomon had to draw to back out of the bout because of an injury. So he fights a guy that he didn't know a whole lot of in Ivanto Kurtz, and Kurtz basically beats him up and beats him for the first time. So, this is a risk business. And I think the Jetta bout would have given us an idea of where Dusty is right now. But I think, and I'm hoping and I think, that the Harrison camp will have a quality opponent for May 13th. So the May 13th card is still on at the DC Armory, and I think there'll be a good opponent for Dusty, because I think it's time for him to make a move. There's no question about it. It's time for him to make a move, and hopefully he'll make that move starting on May 13th. Now, on Saturday, May 14th, there was another Beltway backyard brawl. That was scheduled for that Maryland State Fairgrounds card in Timonium. The main event on that Soft Style Promotion Shabazz Brothers card was scheduled to be James Keep 'em Sleeping Stevenson against Cecil McCullough. That bout was in a 10-round bout for the Maryland State welterweight title. And by the way, I forgot one point about the Harrison Jetta fight. That's supposed to be the catchweight, which may have been another reason why they didn't take this bout. It was supposed to be a catchweight at 154. I mean, Harrison was going to move up from welterweight, and Jetta was supposed to move down from middleweight. So that could be another issue as well. So I just wanted to point that out. But Stevenson and McCullough will be for the Maryland State welterweight title in a 10-round bout. I think this bout, both guys are missing an opportunity. But again, it's a risky bout. Here's why. Stevenson and McCullough have made a number of television appearances over the last, I'd say, 6 to 8 months. Excuse me. They fought some good people. Stevenson fought Sammy Vasquez. McCullough fought former world champion Ishe Smith. And they've had a couple other national televised bouts over the last 8 months to a year. And quite frankly, neither one of them did very well. Cecil McCullough also fought Tony Harrison as well. And neither one of them did well on the big stage. And that's what made that bout very intriguing, because for the way I look at the bout, it's almost win or go home, because whoever would win a bout between Stevenson and McCullough at this stage in their careers puts themselves an opportunity to get another bout like that. The loser would find a very difficult time to do the same thing. It'd have been a great style matchup. Stevenson's got really solid power. McCullough has excellent boxing skills. And I can understand why there's reservation about. What happened was Stevenson first had reservations, then he bought into it. McCullough bought into it and then had reservations. So that's why the bout is not on right now. It'd have been a huge bout for Baltimore. Oh, it'd have been a fantastic bout for Baltimore. And in their particular case, I think that's a missed opportunity. I would have tried to go for that bout a little bit and see where I am. Again, see where we are in this situation. But I understand perfectly why that bout is not on. And I think with the Travis Reeves, Garrett Wilson bout as the headliner, and the co-feature of Tyreshia Douglas and Anahe Torres, they've got enough on that card to really make things special on that card. Also on that card, by the way, Devin Butcher's on that show. We talked to him about that. He'll be on that show May 14th as well. So that's a nice card. But it was a shame. It's a shame in a way not have those Beltway bouts, because I think those would be very good for this area. But you can understand the risk taken in both situations. I do understand, probably better than I did when I wrote the piece on Boxing on the Beltway about this. Talking to some people about that, it has some good arguments against those bouts. And I still believe Harrison should fight Jeter, for example, and I do believe that Stevenson should fight McCullough. I understand why those bouts are not taking place. So we'll see what happens. But so as you see, as you've heard, we've got a huge time ahead of us. Oh, this is going to be amazing. If you follow me on Boxing on the Beltway, follow me on Twitter at Digital25, and also follow me through FightNews.com. I'm going to have as complete a coverage of Broner Theophane week as I possibly can. Thank goodness. I am on spring break this week for my teaching job, so I'll be able to give as full a coverage I possibly can for Broner Theophane Week. We do want to let you know that the weigh-in is open to the public, and I'm still trying to figure this out. The weigh-in for a DC card will be on Thursday afternoon at 1 o'clock, and it'll be held at the Gaylord Hotel at National Harbor in Southern Maryland. In Maryland, I should say. Don't ask me why that's happening. I have no idea why this weigh-in is taking place in Maryland for a DC card. I don't understand that. But nice location, and I think it's kind of a symbolic situation. Maybe this is why they're doing it, because many people in the Beltway boxing region believe that all this great boxing situation we've had over the last few months is setting us for when the new MGM Grand at National Harbor opens up, which is scheduled to be later on this year. And once they get the ballroom squared away, that will be one of our new homes, and probably the biggest new home we have for professional boxing in this area. I think all roads are leading to that. That's why a lot of promoters are really kind of gauging the fan support in this area, which has been great so far. When I hear the Broner Theophane tickets are selling extremely well. And we had almost 4,700 people for Tony Thompson, Luis Ortiz. It could be bigger on Friday night. Friday nights usually do very well for us in this area. So that is going to be a wild night, no question about that. We'll have complete coverage. The weigh-in, as I said, open to the public at the Gaylord Hotel in National Harbor, 1 o'clock on Thursday, Thursday, March 31st. Excuse me, March 31st. Thursday, March 31st will be the weigh-in for the Broner Theophane card. And, of course, again, the doors open at the DC Army on Friday, April 1st at 5:30. I'm sorry, they open at 5. The first bout is at 5:30 p.m. on Friday, April 1st. And the PBC on Spike telecast starts at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So hope you can join us for that. Hope you can be there. Just be there. See all our local boxers on the co-feature, on the undercard. And, of course, Gervonta Davis will fight on television. But let's pack this place. No question about it. Big weekend, April 1st, April 2nd. Of course, April 2nd, as we said, the Washington Golden Gloves Championships. We'll have live coverage from that from Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. So let's buckle up, folks. It'll be a big, 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 superb spring of Beltway Boxing. Hope you can join us for the ride. Thanks, everyone, for joining us here on the Beltway Boxing News and Notes podcast. Remember, subscribe and download the Box on Beltway Google app for Android. It's free. You can subscribe to our podcast on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio.com. We're on YouTube as well. So make sure you join us all the way for some great boxing action in the Beltway region. I'm Gary Digital Williams. Thanks for listening, and always remember, keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Take care.